town that all but closes down for one day every year when the traditional travelling fair arrives. The stalls and rides have crowded into these streets ever since a charter was signed in the year 1200. But as the fairs have become more mechanised and high-tech, then more and more equipment has had to be crammed into the spaces between these lovely old buildings. The rides, stalls and the lorries carrying the generators all have to be tightly packed together. Every available space is marked out down to the last inch. Amersham Fair always attracts large crowds. It's also very popular with the showmen, who like the idea of a tradition that has lasted now for 700 years. Philip Stephen has been a showman all his life, like his father and grandfather before him. Last September, he was setting up his stalls as usual when something worrying caught his eye.
I noticed in my eye smoke coming out the top of the lorry, which was my lorry. So I just dashed out there as quick as I could, opened the back up, and seeing the smoke, the first thing I would think of is phoning fire brigade. We have generators on all our lorries. Sometimes if you've got diesel problems, you get like smoke come out that way. I wasn't sure it was a fire until I looked in the back of the lorry. And as soon as I looked in the back of the lorry and I seen the flames and the smoke, it was just panic.
While Philip ran off to get help, other showmen rushed in to try to control the fire. Robert Birch was one of the first to arrive.
I looked into the back of the lorry and there were flames going up and starting to come out of the roof. There was black smoke coming out of the roof. And I run around the side and there was a side door and there were people squirting fire extinguishers in the side door. Some people jumped into the back to try and put the flames out from there. And we were controlling the fire, but then we were running out of fire extinguishers. Go and get some more fire extinguishers!
The pictures you see next were taken by an amateur cameraman who happened to be at the fair. By this time, the police had also arrived.
The immediate danger was danger to the actual buildings themselves. They've already started to be scorched in places and the windows are cracked. And there's also a danger to the public as well. A lot of people around, my colleagues, were trying to get the public back.
As we could see, we weren't controlling the fire. We decided to start moving equipment to get the equipment away from the front of the lorry and to get the lorry away out into the middle of the street to get it going, away from the buildings so that there was nothing around it. Philip then got into the lorry and I thought he was going to drive to the middle of the street and then we try and control it and wait for the fire brigade.
But Philip had decided on an even bolder plan.
And that's when I got to this stage when I thought, well, this got to come out of the fair, otherwise we're going to have a lot of damage being done here. And that's when I jumped in the lorry. First of all, like, just to try to move it to the middle of the road. And then I thought to myself, it's got to go out the fair because it was going pretty bad, you know, with this fire coming out the roof, sides, everywhere. But all I could see in my mind was somebody's going to get hurt, or somebody's going to get damaged, and that lorry had to go out that fair. The houses stopped and it come into, like, trees on the one side, like small trees, and then the road just opened up and there was like a little pull-in. So I just pulled it, I thought, get in there. I mean, it can't do no damage there, it's out of the way of everything. And I pulled in there, I jumped out the cab of the lorry, and there was like a bank on the side. I jumped up on the bank and just sat there and watched me lively, I'd go up. When I was sat on that bank, I thought, you know, that's my life. That's all what I worked for 20 years, and it's gone within seconds.
Video pictures sent by one of our viewers have captured a dramatic incident.
Philip made the evening news. They didn't mention his name, and they didn't mention he'd lost his livelihood.
This was the moment a street fair was on the brink of disaster. A lorry carrying a powerful generator burst into flames. Shops, historic buildings, and hundreds of people in the centre of Old Amersham were at risk. The hero of the night was the driver who risked his life to move the lorry to safe ground. The fire service said today he was a brave man whose quick thinking may well have saved lives.
I think Philip, at first, was going to drive to the middle of the road, and then he saw he could save the situation by getting the thing right out of the town, and I think he done a marvellous thing, marvellous. And very, very good to do what he done, you know, very brave.
Today, Philip is back in business, honoured for his bravery by fellow showmen.
Well, about 3 or 4 months later, we got a organisation like the Showman's Guild, like all the show people join this Showman's Guild, and I was privileged for them to send me an award, Showman of the Year. So I was very pleased about that afterwards, and I'm back on the road again. I'm working again. All my equipment's back together as best as it can, and I'll just carry on from there, sort of thing, you know, and see what happens.
Philip Stevens didn't expect to be called a hero for what he did that day, and neither do lots of other people who try to make a difference when they find someone in trouble. 999 has been gathering more and more stories of real-life rescues that have happened in the most unlikely circumstances.